Hi, this is Lenard Guzman on the Life After D podcast with Emily Robinson. We're here on a spooky day here, October 14th, 2 weeks from Halloween, and I don't know, a few more weeks till the election, so it is kind of spooky. Here we're on the podcast. We're going to talk about all things divorce here with Emily Robinson. So, how's it going over there, Emily? Court things?
It's going. Court has been busy. Things are, because they all got pushed, are now getting heard. And so I've been in court a lot. I love the fall, so I'm really excited. I love the fall food. It's my favorite food: pumpkin pie, pumpkin lattes. October is my birthday month, and my husband's, and my mom's. So we pretty much celebrate and eat cake all month. So even though everyone else is all stressed about the election, I'm just kind of like trying to enjoy the party month for my family.
All right. Happy birthday to the Robinson family. It's just,
Thank you.
It's just a holiday. Like, so you got like probably 4 days. I was at 5, 4. It's just like a week. Just take the week off. Go on vacation.
For my birthday, I wish. I'm turning 25,
Oh, okay. That explains all your frat girl behavior. Sorority girl behavior. All right, let's get into the news. The divorce news. So what we do on this part of the show is we go on the news. We Google divorce, and we'll see what comes up. A lot of times celebrities come up, news things, and so let's get into it right away. Wow, okay. This show, Grey's Anatomy, which never seems to end. I think they're like in close to season 20. I kind of stopped these like single digits ish, which is kind of interesting. My wife had emergency surgery last week.
Oh no.
And she's all good. Everything's good. She just yells at me a lot because I'm playing nurse this week. And I was in the hospital a long time, so it's like weird dynamics between like doctors, and you could kind of feel the tension, obviously the stress of ER, but there's probably some romantic tension, right? So it's probably based. I mean, they get so many storylines. So back to our story. So one of the characters on the show, Jesse Williams, going through a nasty divorce. This is from TMZ. She gets the houses. He gets a big chunk of Grey's money. Jesse Williams' 3-year bitter divorce drama has officially come to an end. On paper, at least, the judge just signed off to finalize the Grey's Anatomy star's divorce settlement with Aaron Drake Lee, and it seems they're both officially single as of August 7th, 2020. According to legal docs obtained by TMZ, she will share joint legal and physical custody of their 2 young children, son, Massimo, and daughter Sadie. However, they have to meet and confer with each other about posting images of the kids on social media. As a major financial business, Aaron gets to keep the former family house in LA along with places in Brooklyn and Oakland. She's also keeping a leased 2017 Audi Q7 SUV, very specific, and a 2018 Q5 SUV, while Jesse gets to keep his leased 2018 Porsche Cayenne SUV. They all really dig SUVs.
Yeah,
how does that work? How do you get a div up? You get this, you get that?
Yeah, it's pretty much a balance sheet, and it's just, let's try to make it equal based on, who gets what. As far as the kid stuff, that's like the big word, meet and confer, which means, talk to each other before you make any decisions. That seems like it should be very logical, but parents going through a divorce have a lot of trouble with that because obviously they're not getting along. So the court will always tell you, meet and confer, but it's easier said than done, because what if one person won't respond or talk to you? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Hopefully they're successful with that. But yeah, in those celebrity cases, the balance sheets are pretty big, but it's still the same law. You get half, make it equal. And if it's not, then one person may owe the other an equalizing payment.
Yeah, he's like, I get this car, you get that car, you get this car. So they had, I think, 3 cars I counted.
Well, the nastiest ones are when, you know, you don't want them to have anything, so you ask for everything to just be sold. Well, I don't want you to have that car, even though I have a car that's the same amount of money, so let's just sell everything and split it. You know, that happens too sometimes.
Okay, and our next story gets a little political. It's about the Congresswoman from the New York Post, former throuple pole Katie Hill finalizes divorce from restrained hubby. Former throuple, I don't know what this is, I have to Google it. So Katie Hill and her estranged husband, Kenny Heslop, have finalized their divorce, according to a report on Tuesday. The ex-California Congresswoman had previously accused Heslop of abuse and blamed him for exposing the X scandal that prompted her resignation last year. Heslop's attorney, Michelle Sherwood, told the Daily Mail that the divorce was settled amicably outside of the court with no allegations of abuse or violence in any court documents. There was no mention of domestic violence in the divorce judgment. Rising star in the Democratic Party, Hill, then 32, stepped down last October after her leaked nude photos and private text messages were published on the conservative website Red State. To go down here, the openly bisexual lawmaker was accused of having an affair with her legislative director, Graham Kelly, and having a 3-way relationship with Heslop and her 24-year-old campaign worker. We keep going. Hill admitted she had an inappropriate relationship with the campaign staffer before becoming a representative, but denied a tryst with Kelly, which would have been a possible violation of a House rule forged in response to the Me Too movement. So she stepped down because this is the representative that's on the other side of it's like one exit away from me. So it went from Democrat to Republican, which doesn't have anything to do with the divorce, so it's finalized.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many of these stories you hear where someone in a political position has inappropriate relations. You know, in California, it's a no-fault divorce state, so that really wouldn't factor into the divorce. But that doesn't mean it doesn't factor into violations of other rules, like, you know, like rules that you are required to follow as a representative, or like violations that like affect the Me Too movement, things like that. So even though you may not be found at fault for in the divorce context, there may be other repercussions, and that helps with that applies to military divorces too. In the military, there can be repercussions for having affairs and things like that, even though the state of California doesn't necessarily consider that when you're going through a divorce. So, you know, people in these positions of power, elected people who have these positions of influence, they really have to be careful and think about what they're doing. You're affecting a lot more people than just yourself in your own marriage.
Yeah, it sucks to be public. Like, it's just like, it's out there, especially with social media. Like, it's not fun.
There's no getting rid of this stuff anymore. It's like, once it's out there, it's out there. It's not going away.
All right, this next story has to do with fantasy football. like, I'm way into fantasy football. I spend way too much. The New York Jets filed for divorce from Le'Veon Bell, citing irreconcilable differences. Well, that has to do more with people. I don't know if anyone's listening that is in a fantasy football. If you're a meathead like me, who's really into it, they released him, and now he's going to be on the waiver for friends. You're in a hockey, I think, so you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, I do know about other sports too, but yes, hockey is the main one that I follow.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Psychologytoday.com. It's not your imagination. Divorce rates are surging. The numbers reveal the pandemic's toll on relationships. Let's see. Pandemic has not been easy on couples. It's hit on all sides, from economic concerns to new working arrangements, from sick family members to managing children's stress and virtual schooling, from being at home more than ever to recommended social distancing from friends and family. Pandemic's burden is made all the heavier because of its uncertainty. We don't know when the pandemic will end. It's a lot to manage. And for some couples, it's too much. According to legal templates, divorce agreement sales saw a staggering 34% increase this summer compared to last year. Their data suggests the pandemic's effect was quick, 3 weeks into quarantine, and people are seeking divorce at a rate that outpaced previous years. Shorter marriages appear more at risk. Over half of divorce pursuits documented through legal templates were by couples who had been married within the last 5 years. The summer might be over, but the adverse effect on the pandemic on marriages continue. This October, a DC-based law firm has reported a 70% increase in phone call traffic compared to last year. Divorces are on a rise.
Wow. Well, look, this pandemic's not easy for anyone to get through. And so if your relationship's, really rocky or even a little rocky to start off with, you're in for a ride. I mean, you're stuck in the house with your family all the time. There's nowhere you can go to get away. There's nowhere you can even go for alone time for yourself. It's very confining and restrictive, and it's really hard mentally on a lot of people. And it's probably not healthy mentally for anyone. So it's not a surprise that people are just fed up. And again, as I've said in previous podcasts, I think a lot of these divorces will end up being dismissed. They're maybe filed just out of pure, like, I don't know what else to do. I've got to get away from this person. But once, things get a little better and the tension's a little relieved, I think people are starting to drop the divorces. But it's not surprising that the filings are increased.
I'm curious if there will be a surge after the pandemic of people getting remarried. And
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
So I saw this thing where there's a trend where people are getting tiny houses. I don't know if you saw those, where it's I imagine people living in their vans and they're retrofitting it to where they could live in it, or the size of a closet, and it's clear glass windows, a thing, and it's just, I think, like you said, getting just an hour away from the house just to cool down. I
think I've heard there's a surge in people buying motorhomes, just because it's a safe way to travel and you can go to various campgrounds and at least get away, when you don't have to stay in hotels, and you can still stay confined.
All right. Okay, so on this part of the show, we're going to go over posts that people are putting up, where Emily can give some advice and feedback of people going through, whether it's life after divorce, starting the divorce process, or just straight up venting. Okay, so let's get to our first post here. Wife says she's not happy. I hope I wrote this correctly. On 26, my wife's 25, we have one child, 15-month-year-old. We've been together for 8 years, married for going on 2. Before our child was born, everything was perfect. After we found out the baby was colic to be continued for 8 months. It was the toughest thing to go through. One night, baby was screaming like crazy. My wife was not doing anything to help our baby. I went and got the baby from her and told her to just go to bed. I'll sleep later. Should I should say I actually yelled. I never. She said I yelled, but I never yelled. But I was extremely sleep deprived. I apologize the next day. This was like when the baby was 3 months old. Fast forward 6 months. Things seemed fine the whole time. I've asked my wife multiple times if she was having any depression because doctors said to watch out for postpartum depression. Every time she said no, another 6 months went by. Everything seemed fine to me. No fights, had dates, etc. She became distant. Every weekend it seemed that she spent minimal time with me. She would go out with her friends, spend hours, things. She spent time, many hours away. She came home extremely late. Fine with this, spending time with friends or having alone time. I understand this. So it's the present time. Everything was going fine. Felt like I was falling in love with her all over again. Was even building her a new makeup vanity because she was needing a new one. Then she broke down crying, saying she's a S person, and that I deserve better. That she's not happy. She says she's tired of trying to please everyone and faking everything. She says she loves me, but doesn't know where the relationship stands. She says she thinks she needs to stay at her mom's for a few days to clear her head. That's fine. That's where she went. So yeah, this person is just venting. What do you think?
Well, I think you need to give each other space so that you can have that time to regroup and figure out what you need. But also when you start seeing those signs that someone's not happy, they're staying out late, they're, partying, they're just not acting the same way they were before. It's important to realize that things may be changing and you probably need to make sure you have your affairs in order in case they are planning to leave. I mean, you don't want to wait until it's too late and they've already mentally checked out of the relationship and you're in shock. So while it's good and important to keep hoping, for the best and that things will get better, you also need to be realistic and realize it looks like this is not going well and know that this may be coming so you can be prepared.
Good. So the next post, I always like this idea of karma. Like in a way, COVID's become like the ultimate karma in one way or another. So this post that says karma's starting to show, just got a courtesy letter from DMV DMV, when I get something in mail from DMV, I always, it's like that tension before you open it up. So they got a letter from DMV and it says that her ex had suspended license plates on his vehicle. I reminded him to pay the parking ticket multiple times, though I knew he couldn't. He was hoping I would eventually pay it. And eventually, but instead, I just kept reminding him. He thought that somehow being married, it would suspend my vehicle plates too. It says here he watches too much TV, then twists things. He thought he heard until he believes they're facts, so it makes no sense. I didn't illegally park. Okay, so I stopped taking care of his finances 4 months ago. While I was working 2 jobs and saving, he was barely working, then going out, eating out, shopping, got a new tattoo. Internet was disconnected last week. Phone will be in 3 days, and electric will be next week. He had over 2 months to situate the transferring of services, but would rather keep draining me until he can't. Now, it will be my fault when another bill goes unpaid or another service. He doesn't connect. We make the same amount of money and share custody of the kids temporarily. Temporary order is to maintain our separated household expenses. I'm not even trying to go after unpaid bills, etc. It is not my fault. He doesn't save anything anymore. He had time to save while paying zero in bills, and now he's behind.
Well, that happens. It happens a lot where one person is more responsible than the other, and you feel like you end up being like a parent or a babysitter to that person because they can't manage their finances. And you have to make sure you don't fall into that trap. Don't enable them. They've got to figure it out and learn how to do it themselves. You can offer to teach them. You can offer to help them learn, but to enable them and just keep paying their stuff or bail them out when they get into a bad situation isn't going to help them in the future. So it's better if the more responsible parent can help the less responsible parent figure out what needs to be done. I mean, sometimes maybe they just don't know. Sometimes maybe they've never had to do it on their own and they need someone to sit down and show them.
Yeah, one word, auto pay. hopefully, accounts will get overdrawn, but I'm just like auto pay it. I don't even want to look at the bill a lot of the months. So that's all the time we have for today. I'm wondering like what's going on in Grey's Anatomy because I kind of let that show go. So I think it's a good time maybe to get back into it.
Do some binge watching.
Earlier. So Emily, what do we have in store maybe for the next coming weeks in the divorce court, etc.?
Yeah, people are starting to fight about holidays and what are the holiday orders going to be, and so we're doing a lot of figuring that out. And as always, I advise work whatever you can outside of court because it's faster, it's cheaper, and you don't have somebody else deciding, what happens for you. But of course, if you can't do that, there always is the court system to help you out. And if you have questions, you can always contact us. We're on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere that you can Google.
Hey, everything's connected. Like this thing shows up on my YouTube feed. I'm like, oh, that's me. So I think we'll find you.
That too.
So okay. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll do this whole show again next week.
Okay.
On the Life After D podcast. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.